Dry up here. I'll probably
Yeah.
live.
Probably
At
not.
least the whistling.
I have that
seems
exact one in my chair.
This is the coughing's a little more annoying. Oh,
Are we on now? I'll call the meeting to order. First item is the land acknowledgement statement for the town of Smith Falls. On Wednesday, August 23rd, 2023, we acknowledge that this sacred land on which Smith Falls is now located has been a site of human activity for over 10,000 years and is rich in Indigenous history. This land is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We are grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and water in order that we might meet here today. We are also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contribution in the making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smith Falls. We are mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile with all our relations. Together, may we care for this land and each other, drawing on the strength of our mutual history of nation building through peace and friendship, being mindful of generations to come. Next item of business is the approval of the agenda. Would someone, you move that we approve the agenda?
I do.
Okay,
Chris.
seconder, Chris, thank you. All in favor? Great. The adoption of the minutes, two sets of minutes. The first one from July 17th, 2023, which was our regular monthly meeting. Someone move that we adopt those minutes, please. Class, thank you. And a seconder? Tony, thank you. All in favor? Great, approved. The other set of minutes is from the special meeting of August 10th, 2023. Would somebody move that we approve those minutes? Mary Ann, thank you. And Jenny, second. All in favor? Great, thank you. Passed. Disclosure of monetary interest, anyone? Okay, we'll go ahead with the priority issues. The first item is the Heritage Conservation District RFP. And Carl has very kindly prepared for us a summary in the form of a report. So over to you, Carl.
thanks, Dorothy. So I'm pleased to present for the committee's interest and consideration a draft request for proposal for a Heritage Conservation District study. So that, of course, is that's one of the items that has been as part of Council's strategic plan for the upcoming term of Council, and of course, an interest of this committee for a number of years. So the Heritage Conservation District is under the Heritage Act is basically a two-phase project. The first phase is an area study. That's the foundational document that examines the history, character, and appearance of the area, including building structures, other property features. It examines and recommends the boundaries of an HCD, and it also considers recommendations and some of the things that would need to would go potentially into a Heritage Conservation District. So there's a fair bit of work that goes into that, and ultimately the deliverable will be a report that analyzes whether there's a part of our downtown or some particular boundary within our downtown that warrants designation, meets the criteria under the amended Ontario Heritage Act for designation as a district, and concludes with a professional recommendation. So if council agrees with this recommendation to go ahead, then they can direct the completion of a Heritage Conservation District plan and guidelines. Pardon me. So that, of course, that's where it gets to be more regulatory. That's the document that would come later and establish a sets of rules for the defined geographic area. It would need to be registered on title for each individual property, so there's certainly a cost associated with that, but it ultimately implements the findings of the area study. So they each take time, but the end result is, if approved by council, is a flexible document that really achieves council's objectives, whatever they are for that area. And I've seen a Heritage Conservation District plan that's 18 pages long. I've seen another one that's 150 to 200 pages long. So there's a wide variety of objectives that council can achieve depending on what the study says and what they're interested in doing. So our recommendation, of course, is that we exceed the statutory requirements, which are really actually pretty minimal for consultation. We only need to have one public meeting. I think we want to ensure that we have buy-in from the public and key stakeholders as we go through here. So at this point, we've drafted up a draft RFP. Again, this is not a final RFP. This is just our stab at a draft. It's going to go through a final review process at the internal level, as well as before it gets publicized and we seek bidders for the project. But I do have, the report outlines a few key areas for committee's interest. One is the study area. At this point, we're proposing to align it with the current downtown core designation in the official plan. That, of course, does not mean that that's what a heritage conservation district ends up looking like at the end of the day. The consultants can recommend different boundaries, something bigger, something smaller, something, or at least recommend what is an appropriate district, but this is just what we're recommending they start looking at. We've outlined on section 2.2 project purpose and objectives. Section 2.3 outlines the deliverables, so the content that needs to be included in the study. Section 2.4 proposes a project steering committee to guide the process and assist the consultants. So the steering committee would of course consist of town staff, the planning department, and other departments. I'd also like to include a member of the Municipal Heritage Committee on the steering committee as well. And we may also look at, as this process unfolds, we do want to include downtown residents or business owners as part of the steering committee as well, whether that's at this stage or some future stage. That's something that we'll work through. But I think we do want to have that broader community buy-in and consultation. So section 2.5 proposes a consultation and communication piece. Section 2.6 outlines a 10-month timeline to complete the study and another 10 months to complete the plan, if so directed by council. Section 5.3, and that's an area where I'm certainly curious for the committee's perspective, outlines the evaluation criteria. So the RFP document, as it's drafted right now, covers both the area study and the plan. So we don't know that the plan is going to be completed. That's up to council following the completion of the area study. But for obvious reasons, it would be ideal if we have the same consultant do the second piece as the first. So we're going to build in that flexibility to negotiate scope changes depending on what council directs following the area study. So this is the so once the RFP document is out and about, and once we receive bids, then ultimately council will make a decision on who they want to complete the project. Staff will be making a score and recommendation based on the criteria we've set out. So at this point, I'll turn it back to you, Madam Chair, if there's any questions or discussion from committee members.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone like to say?
Carl, did you work with any other municipality, town or municipality on this? I see Brockville has a vibrant heritage conservation district downtown. Perth has signs up, but I don't know if they have one or not. Or
yes, they do.
you're just saying it's there. They do? Yeah,
They do.
They do?
Mm-hmm.
So were you working for Expedience? Were you working with any of the other towns or municipalities on this?
On the RFP document, I was working, one of the bases was there weren't a whole lot of RFPs out there in the public realm for the Heritage Conservation District. Town of Grimsby had a really good one though that I think aligned very closely with what we're trying to do, and that was modeled as closely as possible off of this. It wasn't a copy and paste job. There certainly I did go through it to find what worked, what can be changed, but it was largely based on something they had proposed for their own downtown core. I didn't see, like Perth's HCD was done, I think, in around 2012, or at least initiated perhaps earlier than that, so it's unlikely that I'd be able to easily find their RFP document online.
Okay.
Class?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. Carl, who would be some of the companies that would answer back to this RFP? Who would they be? Do you know any of them?
Oh, it's hard to say. I've seen Stantec has bid on some. Will probably be larger
Engineering firms?
larger engineering firms that have that offer a variety of
Are you
services.
familiar with J.L. Richards?
I am familiar with J.L. Richards. I don't know if they do heritage conservation districts.
They did the study of the United Church
Oh,
with my help.
okay.
Since I knew the building inside out.
What did they do for the United Church?
They did a complete study on the building, the structure, and so forth, and designed the addition that was put onto the United Church to fit in with the look of the church as it is now.
Okay, so that was a heritage impact study they
Yeah.
did? Okay, so certainly a different scale than a heritage conservation district study.
Right, yes. Yeah, a little bit different.
Other questions for Carl?
Yes. The 10 months for each, I'm just curious, is that like standard? Is that how long we think it will take realistically?
I think that's a number that we usually throw out for a project of this magnitude. At the end of the day, if something comes up through the consultation process or we hit a snag or a dead end or something and it takes a little while longer to sort through it, then that's life. They're intended as not entirely hard and fast deadlines, but I think that at least gives an indication of what it is we're hoping for. I wouldn't recommend going faster than that.
Other questions? No? Well, thank you very much, Carl, for that, and we're all very happy to see things moving along
Yeah.
on this project. Next item is meeting schedules. That's you again, Carl.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. So, due to a scheduling issue that has arisen within the planning department, we're asking that the committee, we've set the fourth Wednesday of the month for MHC meetings for quite some time, but our hope moving forward is that Mary and I are both present for most meetings moving forward. So in order for that to work for both of us, unfortunately, we will need to, for the next little while, we will need to move off of the Wednesday schedule, and we recommend either, if depending on what the committee's available for, we'd ask for either Tuesday or Thursday. The second Tuesday, the second Thursday doesn't work for us, but any other Tuesday or Thursday would be something that we can certainly work according to what to the committee's needs.
Okay, so let's see if we can sort this out now while we're all here instead of doing a long email chain. Is there anybody who has restrictions on
I do.
either the third or fourth Tuesday or Thursday?
I do.
Which one?
I do.
I have the 4th. We're right now, okay, Elizabethtown Kitley right now is the 4th Tuesday of the month. We were always the Thursday. We're hoping to go back. So the 4th of anything, the 4th week of the month is out for me.
Okay, how about the third Tuesday or Thursday?
Yeah, that's good.
Tuesday's just a bad day for me.
Third Thursday. Chris?
Yeah, I'm out of town on Thursdays for work.
I see. But don't.
And it's fine with me in the afternoons as long as I don't do it during the daytime.
Yeah, so you said it can't be the fourth of either.
No.
Not,
And no
Tuesday.
Tuesdays.
Yeah, Tuesday's really a hard one for me.
Mondays?
is there,
Council.
Oh. Not a hyper.
Chris, when are you available?
Yeah, like Tuesday after work. It's like, remember for the library meeting there, how I'm kind of racing through traffic trying to get back. So I can make it. It's just I'm not going to be here at 4:30, and I
Or
might
if we
not be
have-
here at all.
How about if we start at 5 instead? Would that
Um,
help?
Possibly, but what time did I get here last week?
Yeah, but there was flooding though.
Yeah, no,
You got here by 5. No, it started at 5, didn't it?
I don't think I got here till 5:20.
No, that's true, that's true.
And Wednesdays are out of the question?
For the,
We're trying to
for the
move
time.
away from
For the
Wednesday.
time.
Oh, right, we're Wednesday, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know what I'm
It's a
thinking.
while.
Yeah, I was thinking just the fourth Wednesday of the month.
Wednesdays in general.
It looks as if we could do the 3rd Thursday, but later on, otherwise Chris isn't going to be here on.
The fourth Thursday at 5 o'clock?
Can't be the
No,
Oh,
fourth.
third.
sorry, at 4:30.
the
Can't,
third
it has to be
Oh,
the third.
Sorry, the third
Third
Thursday.
But not at 4:30 or Chris won't get here for the meeting.
So
Okay.
5, 6,
Like the later the better for me, but that doesn't.
What if we move it an hour to 4:30? No, 4:30 to 5:30.
Yeah, like that. That's better than 4:30, right?
Do any of the committees meet like in the evening, like say at 7? Do they ever do that? I know staff wouldn't really want to do that, but
I can't speak for committees that aren't under planning services, but planning advisory meets at 5 if there's a public meeting. The climate action committee meets during the afternoon.
I think does the county do some later ones?
I think they do.
county meets at 5.
But yeah, I'll try my best as long as I don't, have a meeting at 4:30 but yeah, it's just, that's the day I'm out of town. So I'm
yeah,
never guaranteed.
yeah. And this is temporary, you think? Or,
That's what
Yeah.
that's my understanding, that it's temporary.
so shall we try for the 3rd Thursday at 5? Is that just
5:30.
too early for you, Chris?
At 5:30?
It's okay. Like if it all depends the agenda, right? Like if it was an agenda like tonight, it's not a big deal, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's just,
Do you want us to compromise to 5:30? That gives you an extra hour.
Yeah, like if people don't mind, but I don't want to push it. And
It may not be good for Carl and Mary though. Can we leave it with you, Carl, to
Yeah, I
say
can,
5 or later?
yeah, I can discuss with Mary as to 5 or 5:30, and I can follow up with an email.
Okay, so we've picked the 3rd Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Okay, next item on the agenda, Tony, you wanted to mention the library expense.
Yes, I did. Just for clarity, I guess it's mostly to Carl. The meeting we had, the special meeting, it was my understanding we were talking about putting a door into the back of the library. That's what I was gleaning from it. In hindsight, I wish we'd have just all got up and walked over there. I did do a walkabout in the museum, sorry, I got a museum on the brain, and the library a couple of days later, and went upstairs and asked, where is this door going? Well, the door is going in the front wall. I said, I understood it was going in the back wall. She said, no, the door goes in the front wall. They're removing the 2 existing doors that have been there since construction. I'm putting a door in the center when you go up the stairs. There's 2 sets of stairs that go up. That's exactly where they're doing it. I said, okay, nothing's coming to the back wall. And she said, oh yes, it's all coming out. I said, pardon? She said, well, the back wall is all going. And I said, you can't do that. It's a designated heritage building. She said, oh yes. She said, just the front of the museum, front of the library is designated, not the back. We're taking out. The glass partition is going in here and the back wall is going. The back wall is all coming out. Is that correct, Carl?
So the entire, through you, Madam Chair, the entire property is designated as a heritage property.
Yes.
So under changes under the Ontario Heritage Act, the Municipal Heritage Committee's review and council's alteration approval, council's approval for an alteration is required if one of the alterations affects one of the attributes that's identified in the heritage bylaw. So so one of the reasons we updated all of our heritage bylaws in the last couple of years was because a lot of them were very vague. They were not very clear on what the attributes were that we're trying to protect, what's important, what needs to be, what needs that extra scrutiny if it's being revised. So a renovation to a designated heritage property that does not alter one of the features that's identified and protected under the bylaw technically does not require council's heritage approval. So in terms of council's ultimate approval for the overall design of the library and any back and forth between the library and council through the project, that's a matter between council and the library. But as far as the Municipal Heritage Committee's role with respect to the alteration is if there is an alteration to one of the items that's identified within the bylaw. So obviously the addition to the back is probably one of the most visible and prominent components of that development, but it doesn't actually alter one of the identified interior or exterior features. The reason,
excuse me, Carl, but it does, because it's designated in here that the moldings, et cetera, on the back wall, on the third floor, are designated. And it also says there, the entire exterior of the public library merits quality conservation and restoration. Should any planned feature work arise, it is important to replace features in kind without any additions that would falsify what is historically accurate. Right? Black and white.
Right in the bylaw.
Right here in the bylaw. So it's not that I'm against this, but we have one of the very, very, very few Carnegie libraries that is historically accurate from brick to brick. The only things that have really changed on it is the steps are not wooden anymore. They are now stone steps. That is just about the only difference we have in that library. When this is done, we're not going to have a Carnegie library anymore, are we?
Chris?
See, I don't like. I share your frustration for sure, and I noted it at the council meeting that went after, trying to be fair to the process, but also fair to the situation. I think what I find really frustrating with this is that the whole reason we got our bylaws rewritten was to try to avoid this stuff. And for me, in the bylaw, the line, the symmetrical layout and massing for the exterior part, that's kind of a catch-all that, if there was something, if it took design cues from the other three sides, because the other three sides have a lot of similar design elements, it'd be easier to understand it. And I know there's, when you get into taste and when you get into style, everybody's going to have an opinion, but putting this cube onto the back of the library is going to significantly change the look of it. And it's frustrating that, however this bylaw was written by the consultant, they failed to see the loophole or the missing part here, that even though this one side, when you've got a 360-degree facade the way that building does, there's no back of that building. Every side is on a street or to a park.
Yes, it is.
Every side's important. And I know, personally, I know it was, I don't understand the interior, and I haven't had a chance to go by the library with the way the meeting was rushed through last week. Mm-hmm. It's also frustrating because, and I know it's not on anybody in the, it's the way it had to work. Because I don't have a good idea of what you're talking about, to be honest, Tony, and I'm not sure, it's been since before COVID, since I've been up on the third floor, so I'm not sure of what the moldings or what's going to be removed or reinstalled, because it sounded like from the conversation we had, a week or two ago, it was going to be more of a, take stuff out to replace stuff and then put it back.
Exactly. In fact, I heard those words from Chris that we're using these back, all this molding back where practical. Because I asked him about it. I said, where practical, does that mean you're putting them all back, or are you using that? But is that another loophole?
He did say that every effort would be made, unless, of course, it broke or splintered, or he used that word, I think, when they took it off. But we here were only asked to consider those three things, right?
We
those
were.
three things, and we considered those three things, and we agreed that we didn't consider any other aspects of the alterations to the library, because I'm assuming they weren't impacting any of the attributes outlined in the bylaw.
We were told point blank that we were not, the glass partition, point blank, we were told it was not up for discussion.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of a red flag to me, like, why isn't it? I mean, it's a designated building.
Class was first.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair. Interesting question, Tony, and I do somewhat sympathize. When Chris spoke, he did indicate that back jut out was an addition long after the library was built.
Yes.
So alterations was made to the building back in the 50s already.
Not on the third floor.
It predates the 50s, and that addition is covered in this.
Okay. On the third floor, there's that back wall. And I think Chris did indicate any of that molding, they were going to save all that as best they could. Up against that back wall, there's a little door. And of course, you wouldn't begin because it's locked. In behind there is just an absolute storage mess. There's nothing really of heritage in there whatsoever. It's just a slope right now. Just a slope ceiling, okay? And I mean, this heritage thing that we're saddled with, I think it's all great, okay, and so forth, but it hamstrings us an awful lot sometimes to move to progress. And progress is that we need more room in that library.
You need more room in the library, but that building cannot speak for itself. We're here to speak for it.
Yeah, we're here to speak for the building.
We're here to speak for the building.
I know.
And what I'm very much concerned with is years when we're all gone, somebody's going to look at that and say, what in hell were they thinking when they did this?
Yeah.
Why would they do this to a heritage building? Especially when it's so complete. It is, it is so original. I've seen Carnegie libraries all over Ontario, and we have a gem here we're not going to anymore.
Well, it's at the back. I mean.
Okay, Mary Ann would like to.
I think because they're using the fact that that jut out wasn't original. They're using that as like an excuse to go up and alter. But
That's right.
We're not wanting that back wall altered. We want it to remain the way it is. Like, are they going to take out that whole wall so that they can have this glass?
Well,
Is it going to be like a solarium?
let's not forget that accessibility was one of the
Yes,
important
I understand that
reasons
about the elevator, yeah.
Yeah. And there are new laws requiring municipalities to make public buildings accessible. That's correct, Carl, right?
That's my understanding.
Yes, and I
So-
understand the need for an elevator shaft. I don't understand the need for the greenhouse.
The elevator shaft, are they going to be ripping out some of the historical facade moldings and so forth to put the elevator shaft in?
Well, if they were, we would have been required to comment, I would assume. Chris, would you like to?
Oh, I would think they'd have to.
Yeah, well, this is what I find frustrating. So I think with the, it's something to consider as we have the HCD conversations of what's actually going to be protected and not protected, going forward with that. But also as we look at our, the properties of interest and the designated buildings that are existing, we just spent a bunch of money getting a consultant to review this stuff, and clearly, there was deficiencies definitely in the water treatment plant with the type of stone and different things that were noted with the engineer's report. To me, this was a huge omission in the rewriting of the library report. And there was a lot of things in that the consultant missed, where, you know, number of fireplaces, just things that, and I think part of the issue too is when we tried to do that many, that, you know, do it all in a chunk, it's hard to go in and, you know, audit anything. You're putting trust in the professionals. But that being said, I think we need to look back on, it really frustrates me to say this, but I think we need to look back on the rewritten bylaws and, you know, see what we're missing, or see what,
I agree with you, Chris.
because that's the only way forward. I don't know that there's a mechanism, as frustrating as it is to not be able to make a comment as a committee. Unfortunately, that seems to be the position we're in.
But they're not replacing it in kind.
Well, I think that's the problem when these bylaws have gaps in them, is that, you know, we don't get to have that conversation of, okay, well, you know, if it had been if the roof had been gabled, you'd get all that space, but it would come out on a flat angle, so it would still fit the original roof line. Could that work? You know, if you tried to, the other three sides have like a pediment with a peaked roof that faces out. You know, if it had been shaped like that, you know, maybe it's made of glass because, you know, it is a good heritage design to use modern materials and use state-of-the-art processes and have the renovate or have the addition distinguish itself from the existing. But if it had taken more design cues from the existing, then we would have, you know what I mean? It's those kind of conversations that we didn't get to have. And I think it is important to note, not everybody's been on the committee for every year, but I do remember when the initial plans came to the committee, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. And, you know, there was that goodwill and that awareness of it. You know, maybe in hindsight, you know, we should have kept up with that, but with every, you know, there's so much going on and we've got so little resources as a committee, it didn't happen that we were able to participate in the design process that way. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm just not sure as a municipal heritage committee what our role is going forward in this, but I definitely note everybody's comments.
Well, exactly. Comments are noted, and
Yeah.
we have we have nothing to do with regards to it. We talked about it, and comments are noted. Carl?
So one of the committee's mandates is review and advice to council. So certainly I'm hearing that, and if there were different aspects of this bylaw written differently that sort of identified or clarified certain elements about that part facing Elmsley Street, then a different interpretation may have been made. But what I'm hearing is that there are concerns that the rewritten bylaws, despite their best attempts, may have exposed a few gaps in terms of what we're trying to do. And there's a lot of bylaws being looked at a lot very quickly. So perhaps what I can suggest, if the committee may wish to do, is have a look at all of these bylaws and potentially, and I can certainly circulate that or appoint a subcommittee or something to look at all of those bylaws, identify some areas where you feel that, having had this conversation, where you feel that maybe some tweaks need to be made, and then potentially the committee can recommend some amendments to council at some point. That could be an option moving forward.
Okay. That sounds like a good idea. Class?
Yeah. No, the only thing is Chris's presentation I thought was excellent, and I agree with the presentation he has made for this extra jut out on top of the jut out that was done in the 1950s. I see nothing wrong with it personally myself. And I know that they'll try and save every molding, every trim, every piece of molding, whatever, to make it look back the way it is. So that's my comment.
To me, it's like putting lipstick on a pig.
Yeah, won't look the same from the outside.
Okay, let's move on to project updates. The Heritage Symposium Working Group update is first.
Okay.
Marianne, you're on.
We have our save the dates are ready to go. So that was done. We have a tentative program. So it would start in the morning. And we have somebody speaking from the museum, not from the museum. Oh, see, Tony, it's catching. From the Station Theater, and I can't remember the person's name, but she did like a little book kind of thing. And so she's going to present. And so then we'll learn about the restoration and the story behind that station. Then we'll have break. Then we are going to have, oh my God, I've lost her name. Nikki Dwyer is going to speak then from break through to lunch about the conservation district in Almont and conservation districts as a whole type thing. Then we're going to move over to the station museum for lunch. We're having lunch there. Then Becky is going to give a rundown on what's happened and the history and everything that's been done. That should take us to about mid-afternoon. And then we thought that we would open up the museum for everybody to have a look. Mr. Engineer here has volunteered to help with, he's going to be our MC, but he is also going to be our engineer. And there will be train rides available. And I think some of our people are coming in, are they not, so people that haven't experienced it can see what we've done and what both stations have happened to both stations moving forward. You know, we are so fortunate as that we have both stations in town. Very many people don't have any stations left. So, and that's planned for the day.
Your first session was in which?
Is in the station theater.
The station
All morning
theater.
is in the station theater.
Okay.
And then all afternoon is at the station museum. Lunch is at the museum.
I see you've changed the date.
Yes. Oh, yes. We had to change the date to Monday, October 23rd because of our caterers. Okay. That was the date that they were available and we didn't want to lose them. So that's what we did. It's still tagged on to the end of a weekend, just the Monday instead of a Friday. And it's not on like Thanksgiving or.
It's after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Okay, Carl?
So I am also working and attempting to bring in another official from it. Can't confirm the name until it's confirmed, but another municipal official who works with the Heritage Conservation District locally as well to provide some additional. We're just trying to get that. We're trying to get that firmed up, and she's trying to get her own approvals as well. So I did talk to Lorraine last week. She's looking for our help in getting the save the dates sent out. We can certainly help with that. So I think you'll need to get the program. So the save the date, I see it doesn't have names of presenters at this point, so we can get that out right away.
Yeah.
The program itself, when were you hoping to have that?
Well, I guess we're ready, except for we'll wait for your person.
Okay.
Okay. The other thing too, and with our mailing list, Lorraine has given me the mailing list that we had.
Okay.
But I have contacted my CHO contacts to get her mailing list as well. So then that way we'll get all the MHACs in the area. And then there's different networks too, like the Rideau Heritage Network we're going to send out to, and to like Marrickville Historical Society, because they don't get like the CHO news or anything.
And I have a mailing list as well from past years as well that mostly consists of people who've been to the symposiums and municipal contacts who've since moved around in the last few years.
A lot.
I think we'll have to put our heads together and merge what we can.
Because there were some people on the list that are no longer with us, and I would hate for mail to go to their home.
Exactly.
Okay. And that's all we're rolling, aren't we? Yeah.
So Nikki's presentation is a new one then. It's about, you said it was about Alma?
Yeah.
Because she did present.
Yes, she did.
But it was different. This is a different topic.
Yes. Yeah.
Class?
Yeah, thank you. Something that Lorraine and I were talking about, lunch, tables and chairs.
Yeah.
Rental Village will deliver and pick up.
Okay. That's good to know.
Clarify that.
So that's done.
I told them they had to.
Okay, that's good.
They get enough of my money.
Okay.
All right. Any questions? The other working group did not meet. We thought we might, but I wasn't here, so we have not. Perhaps we can schedule something for next month, but we did think though that with the Heritage Conservation District underway, as much as it is, that it would be beside the point for us to be considering any individual designations. However, if there's any way in which our working group can help with the conservation district by maybe doing some additional research on some of the buildings in the downtown which are not designated, we can certainly do that. It means going to the basement of the Heritage House Museum, I suppose.
Oh, what a shame.
It's not that bad.
Oh, no, I would enjoy it. That's what I mean.
I haven't been there a long time.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the round table. Let's start with Chris. Do you have anything? No? Carl?
I don't have anything today.
Cliff?
I'm hoping to meet with Joe Ty to look at underneath the bridge in Beckwith on Saturday.
Good.
Been put off. He's very busy, so I cornered him and supposed to meet with him hopefully on Saturday and go underneath the bridge.
Okay.
Which bridge is this?
Beckwith,
The Stone Arch Bridge.
Stone Arch Bridge.
Can you possibly circulate a few notes to the committee following that
Sure.
meeting so that we have it before we meet again?
I'll take some pictures too.
The key heritage attributes is what we're looking for, right? Mary Ann? do you-
No, the only thing that was mentioned in passing this week that I heard about was our plaques. Now, did we hand that over to the Heritage House Museum?
Plaques or pedestals?
The pedestals, like the plaques on the pedestals.
But we used to buy them. They used to come out of our budget many moons ago.
The last time they were done, they came out of economic development because
Because
of
it was-
rebranding.
But put it in the rebranding.
Right.
Yeah, that's,
But replacements. Well, Mary provided for us not too long ago an inventory of
Mhm.
all the pedestals and the condition they were in and whether or not they needed to be replaced. So I would assume, hopefully, that town staff have
Yeah, because I thought that
that under control.
Heritage House had something to do with that initiative. I'd
In
have to look
first
through the minutes.
place, maybe.
Okay.
When it was first done.
Okay, I'll have to look through the minutes. I thought there was, okay. All right, that's all I have.
I can
Yes.
follow up with Mary on that.
Okay.
Maybe that's a good point, though. Maybe could we get the list of all of them emailed to the committee, and then if we're out and about, we could maybe try to take pictures of all of them and take an inventory of what state they're in, and because there's some out there that are gone, and there's some out there that are still okay. But I still find I find new ones or ones I haven't seen before. You know.
Jenny
Nothing.
and Tony?
Chris, the Remax, they're putting a new sign up,
I don't know.
the old, just down here?
Yeah, no, I've seen it, but I don't know.
Oh, I just wondered if they'd come through you guys to put the sign up, no?
I'm assuming it's not a CIP because the CIP, it wasn't part of the last intake, and this intake doesn't end until September. So
Okay, I just wondered if, yeah.
Oh, sorry, I was just agreeing with what Chris said. We
Okay.
don't have a new sign would require a permit that gets a sign permit simply gets reviewed according to our sign bylaw, and that's processed in the office. I don't know if one's been applied for or issued in that case, but yes, we do have I'm not aware of a CIP application for that. At the end of the day, the CIP is a tool that encourages signs that are more that are higher quality. So for instance, I've had conversations with folks who are looking to put up a plastic or a vinyl sign that technically meets the bylaw. We would issue it, but we suggest that the CIP gives the ability to financially assist a higher quality sign. That's something that we would want more in there. And some people take us up on that. Some people don't. But yes, I'm not aware of that particular property.
I just wondered if we were getting some kind of historical sign on that old building. That's all. Just one other thing briefly. I heard back from the town the other day. I was very happy to hear from them on the museum's proposal to put a eco boardwalk to join William Street to Cornelia Street through our wetlands. I know it's just in the initial stages, but yeah, the town seems to be quite interested in it in developing their walking trails. So the next stop is to go and see Rideau Valley Conservation Authority and see what we need to go through there. So I'm quite excited about that. That's it.
Yeah, I just have one more thing while we're talking about the sign bylaw. Does the sign bylaw have anything to do with the windows as well? Did I read that? Or am I confused? No, so they can cover their windows with whatever they like?
There are provisions on the windows. I need to check, or on the draft bylaw has provisions regarding windows. I need to check what's in there.
Okay.
I don't remember offhand. If you feel free to follow up with me directly, and
Okay.
I can look into that.
All right.
Sorry, I do have one roundtable item that I'd forgotten a moment ago. The committee's well-crafted resolution was regarding the water treatment plant was presented to council last week. It was received for information. Council was not, they did not have enough information on costing and funding to make a commitment one way or the other as to whether they prefer the stabilization approach. We continue to attempt to get more information from the insurers, but community services staff have reached out. Our understanding is they have reached out to get a little bit of costing on potential stabilization option, so that hopefully when council does have the information available, that the direction can be provided as to how they wish to proceed with the building. And Chris, if you have anything else to add on that, it was a pretty rigorous conversation there last Monday.
Does that mean hot?
Well, I was hoping council would endorse the first recommendation of getting the prices, even though staff's already gone down that route. I just was hoping for a political endorsement of it to show solidarity with it, but people seemed hesitant for whatever reason, and but I think it was received. People seem to acknowledge what the content and the heritage side of it, but it's definitely not a slam dunk, and anything we could do to advocate to preserve those buildings, or any kind of ideas we can come up with to help preserve those buildings, is definitely needed, because I think I think September 5th, I'm assuming will be the day that most likely a decision will be made. But for now, we're kind of still in the same spot we were and have been.
Okay. Date of next meeting? Well, it might not be on the 27th. Would that be? Will that be to be determined?
Yes, so we'll look at. I guess we'll very lightly pencil in the 28th.
That's the 4th.
That's the 4th. So was it the 4th?
The 3rd.
Okay, so that would be the 21st.
21st
Okay.
October, September.
September.
Okay, and later than 4:30, and we'll find out
Question.
beforehand. So a motion to adjourn, please.
I so move.
Tony, thank you. I assume everyone's in favor of adjournment?
Yep. Our Heritage Elizabethtown Kitley on the 22nd of September are planning, hopefully we're waiting for speakers to get back to us, but a workshop. So we would have somebody from CHO,